All right, so the other thing that the notes on the staff tells you is how long to play each note. So behind me, you see the note tree and the rest tree. Starting at the top, we've got the whole note or the whole rest, and those are worth the same amount depending on your time signature. In our case, we're always going to be in 4/4 time, except for one song, which is 3/4 time, but these notes stay the same value. Until maybe Three Blind Mice, if you get to that bonus song. Then this all changes, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So our whole note up here is always going to be worth 4 beats. So if you see one of those, it's one sound that gets 4 beats. It's a really long sound. So here's our beat, nice and steady. Beat, beat. It would be one long sound. Ta. So that was 4 beats, and then on the 5th beat, it stops. And then we just cut it in half, and you get 2 different notes. So 4 divided by 2, half of 4 is 2. So each of these, we call them the half notes, because it's half of a whole. Each of those gets 2 beats. So if we said both of those, each one getting 2 beats, it'd be ta, ta, and cut that in half, and half of a half is a quarter. It would take 4 quarters to make a whole dollar. So we can kind of mix our metaphors, but that is what this called, is a quarter note. Each one of these gets 1 beat. And normally it's just like right on the steady beat. One sound, 1 beat. Ta, 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 ta. Now the same thing goes for the rest tree. So this one, the whole rest, looks like if you were walking along that top line, you'd fall into that hole. So that's your trick to remembering it. Whereas this one looks more like a hat or something that you'd have to step up onto. That one is the half rest. So if I were to sing that whole note, or sorry, whole rest, it'd be totally silent for 4 beats. These ones are 2 beats of silence each, so tap. And this one, each is worth 1 beat of silence. Don't have to say anything. Then our quarter note can be split into 2 eighth notes, and they might look like this with a flag, where that gets half of a beat, that gets the other half. Or it might have the stem that goes up, rooftop, and back down to the next one. Those are worth the same thing. They just look a little different. So those are 2 eighth notes, that's 2 eighth notes. And it is 2 sounds inside of 1 beat. Remember, this is 1 sound, 2 beats, 1 sound, 4 beats. This is 2 sounds, we're down to 1 beat. So this one usually we'd say is something like ti-ti, ti-ti. So if we were to say all 4 of those, it would be ti-ti, 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 ti-ti. And then we can keep going. We can split this in half into 2 16th notes. Or if you got 2 of them, split this in half 2, split this in half 2, then you got 4 16th notes, which looks like this. It's kind of the same as like the flag idea, except for this one has 2 flags. Or 1 rooftop, this has 2 rooftops. And you can group them in groups of 4 or maybe even more, but it just kind of makes more sense because that's 1 beat's worth, is 4 16th notes. So 4 sounds stuck inside of 1 beat. And usually we'll say ticka ticka. So that's ticka ticka. 4 sounds, 1 beat. So if I were to say all 4 of those in a row, it'd be ticka 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 ticka. Which is kind of just fun to say. Ticka 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 ticka. Ticka 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 ticka. All right. And then same thing goes for the rest. One of these is worth half a beat of silence. One of this is a quarter of a beat of silence. Is really short. So like if I just said one of these 16th notes, it'd be tick, tick, ticka, ticka, ticka tick, ticka tick, ticka ticka. So those sounds go really quick. Now let's put together some multiple rhythms. All right, so here I have a number of different rhythms. Each of these are something that only take 1 beat. So if here's our steady beat, just kind of like our heartbeats, it's very steady. It's just kind of visual representation of the beat. And then the rhythm on top of it, this is 1 sound for 1 beat. This is 2 sounds for 1 beat. Using tas and TTs, this one's pretty simple, just keeping our beat. Ta, ta, ti, ti, ta. Ti, 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 ta, ta. Now, what you'll see in the recorder music is all of these bar lines. And they just kind of keep our music organized. All of the songs, except for one in the belts, are in 4/4 time, which means there's 4 beats per measure. And then there's a bar line. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there will be another bar line. Even like our first song, those half notes, each of those being 2 beats long. So 2 beats right there, 2 beats right there, 2 plus 2 is 4, bar line. 2 beats of sound, 2 beats of rest, bar line. So every bar has 4 beats, either of sound or of rest, but 4 beats for all of them. The rhythms get a little bit more complicated as you go through the music. For instance, we've got the half note, which was the one sound for 2 beats. Ta, 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 cheep, 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 ta, ta. Still not so difficult yet, but when you start adding in, like, oh, I have to remember this one's going to be a B, this one's a C, and this one's a G, it gets a lot more complex. But remember, that's when the notes are on the music staff. This right now doesn't show you what note to play. It just says when to play. All right, so as an example for reading the rhythm, let's look at the first belt song. So for each song, I will post a video that has some help for you to practice the song. I want you to be able to say the rhythm, and then say the notes in the rhythm, and then say the notes while doing the fingering on the recorder and following the rhythm, and then finally playing the song. So once you can do all 3 of those things at once, then I want you to try playing the song and recording it as your test for me. All right, so here is Hot Cross Buns. Notice we're starting with the half notes. After 2 half notes, because each of those gets 2 beats, 2 plus 2 is 4. There's our bar line again. And they're called half notes because they get half of a measure. A measure is 4 beats, half of 4 is 2, so that's 2 beats. So 2 beats, 2 beats, 2 beats. This is also a half rest, so half means 2 beats, but it's of silence. And we do that again. And then on the second line, those are quarter notes, so each one gets 1 beat. Ta, 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 ta. And then we've got another measure. And then there's no break in the sound between the measures, right? We don't go hot cross buns. It just continues. So if here's our beat, and you'll probably want to keep a beat while you're practicing this, either with your foot, or maybe snapping if you can, or even just keeping it internally, you know, maybe moving your head or just feeling it. So here is Hot Cross Buns with just ta, and we'll do this for every song throughout the recorder karate. So here is ta, 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 and that's the end. Now that should be fairly easy, right? So just making one sound for 2 beats again and again, and then waiting for 2 beats. Then the same thing again, and then just 4 tas followed by 4 tas, each one getting 1 beat, and then the same thing that you just did. The trick is being able to do, say, the note names. So remember the middle line, E, G, B, D, F. These are the lines of the treble clef. The middle line is B, so maybe every grizzly bear deserves fish. Spaces spell face, so the bottom one would be F. This one is in the A space, C, E. So this is B, A. Second line is G. You can see that down here as well. B, A, G. So then try saying those for 2 beats each. So going B, A, G, B, A, G, 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 A, B, A, G. So doing those 2 things at once can be a little tricky, but practice it until you get it. As soon as you can say the notes to the rhythm, then try doing it with the fingers. So this is B. Remember, make sure it's your left hand. So make an L, and if it's an L to you, that means it's on this side. That is your left hand. That's the hand that goes on top. So with your first finger on that top hole, and then your thumb on the back hole, as you can see on your paper here on the bottom, that is B, although my mouse keeps covering it. So that's B fingering, so your thumb hole is covered and the first finger. A is thumb 1, 2. G is thumb 1, 2, 3. We actually don't need our right hand at all yet, but you're welcome to keep it down here or just over these holes, just not touching any of them yet. So then you want to be able to say the notes to the correct rhythm while doing the fingering. Once you can do that, then I guarantee that you can play the song. So it goes starting with B again for 2 beats. So here's our beat. I'm just going to keep it with my head this time because I'm going to be busy with both hands right now. So it's going to be B, A, G, B, A, G, 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 A, B, A, G. Once you can do that, then you can probably play it. And then you can submit your video.
Alright, so I'm also going to post a couple of extra practice videos. In order to play all of the Recorder Belt songs, I recommend that you practice rhythms because you are going to be doing rhythms that start out pretty easy and get a little bit more difficult as we go, but then you also have to do the recorder fingerings. You have to read the pitch and then turn that into the different fingerings and keep the rhythm going at the same time. Make sure you have a steady beat. Are using the correct air, or tongue in the different notes. So it gets complicated, but if you practice these different techniques separately and then bring them together, it'll be a lot easier. So I recommend taking a look at those videos, practicing the rhythm, and then continuing on.